Imagine a setting so inhospitable that, on every rocky hill, in every twist of the chilly wind, the air seems to carry a story of survival and struggle. We are in the Andes, the mountains that touch the clouds and embrace the sky, where time is measured in eras, where nights are so cold that the starry sky feels sharp. It's a place where every breath is a challenge, and every patch of land is either a promise or a threat. And it is here that the beginning of a story hides, a story that, as unlikely as it may seem, changed the fate of entire civilizations. But before we talk about how the potato shaped the destiny of continents, I want you to feel the atmosphere of these valleys. Imagine the dark, damp soil, a soil that holds secrets of generations, a soil that speaks only to those who have the patience to listen. For the Andean people, every mountain, every stone, and every tuber was a living being, endowed with its own spirit. They knew this land like the back of their hand and understood that to tame it, they needed more than strength. They needed an ally. And that ally was the potato. But not the smooth, uniform potato we find in markets and supermarkets today. The original potato was almost mythical in its appearance. Twisted, full of strange curves, with colors ranging from deep purple to gold. Each one was different from the next, as if the earth itself had shaped each one in its own way. But what truly mattered wasn't just its shape, but its resilience. The potato was a symbol of resistance, something that flourished where everything else perished. For the Incas, the potato was a gift from the gods, a blessing from Pachamama, Mother Earth. It was a promise of abundance, but also a reminder that nature always had its unpredictable side. They believed there was a spiritual connection with each harvest. Before planting, they performed rituals, offered sacrifices to the land, and believed that when they harvested the potatoes, they were gathering a piece of the earth's spirit. In each tuber, there was a kind of silent pact between man and nature, a bond that transcends time. The potato was not just food, it was a link. But all of this was about to change in a brutal and unexpected way. In the 16th century, a new presence arrived on the South American continent, the Spanish conquerors. They came in search of gold, thirsting for wealth. The Incas, despite their efforts, were unprepared for the violence, the devastation that the Europeans would bring. Machu Picchu, Cusco, the Golden Cities. Everything turned to dust. And amidst this destruction, the potato, silent and insignificant, was discovered by the Spaniards. But don't think they immediately saw its value. No. To them, the potato was a strange trophy, a botanical curiosity, something to take on ships alongside relics and spices. Imagine then those ships crossing the Atlantic, their sails torn by the wind, facing storms and rough seas. In their dark holds, among barrels of gold and silver, lay sacks of potatoes, almost forgotten, almost invisible. For the Spaniards, it was something that might be useful in case of hunger, but it would never hold the same value as their precious cargo. Yet, little did they know that those small roots carried a power far greater than any riches they could extract from American mines. However, when the potato reached Europe, it did not find fertile soil right away. In 16th century Europe, the unknown was synonymous with threat. The potato seemed like a suspicious gift, almost diabolical. It grew underground, in darkness, and for many, this made it impure. It was as if it carried an invisible curse. Some said the potato caused leprosy, that it brought unknown diseases. Others believed it was suitable only as animal feed, for pigs. It did not have the golden shine of wheat nor the noble history of vineyard grapes. For a time, the potato was relegated to the dark corners of Europe, feeding those who had no other choice, the poor peasants, those living on the margins. But behind this rejection, something else was happening. Because 17th-century Europe was a continent in transformation, where hunger was not a distant memory but a reality haunting the populations. It was a continent of wars, religious conflicts, and devastated fields. And where there was hunger, there was also a desperate need for something that could grow anywhere, in any season. This is how, slowly, the potato began to gain ground. But not without a dose of ingenuity and daring. This is where Antoine-Augustin Parmentier comes in, a man who, in a way, saw what no one else did. He had been a prisoner in Prussia and survived on potatoes. Back in France, he decided to change the public perception of the potato, using human curiosity as a weapon. Parmentier planted potato fields and, during the day, placed guards to watch over the crop as if it were too valuable to be stolen. But at night, the guards disappeared, and the curious peasants began to steal the potatoes to plant them in their own fields. It was a masterstroke. In no time, the potato was on the plates of all of France. But, as I said before, this is not just a story of acceptance and success. The potato still had a decisive role to play, and that role would be as tragic as it was unexpected. 19th-century Ireland had adopted the potato as part of its soul. In Irish soil, it became the sustenance of families, workers, peasants. For many, it was the only thing standing between them and starvation. But this dependence, which initially seemed a blessing, soon revealed its most cruel side. In 1845, the potato blight, known as the mildew, struck the Irish crops with devastating fury. The disease turned the green fields into a landscape of death. The potato, which had been the mainstay of so many families, now rotted in the fields before it could be harvested. People desperate, dug the earth hoping to find some potato that had survived, but all they found was rot and despair. The Great Irish Famine, as it came to be known, claimed the lives of more than 1 million people and forced millions more to emigrate in search of a new chance at survival. The story of the potato in Ireland is a grim reminder of how something so small can carry so much weight. But this tragedy also had an unexpected effect. By spreading suffering, the famine also spread the potato around the world. The Irish immigrants who crossed the Atlantic brought with them their stories, their culture, and yes, their potato. And in North American lands, the potato found new fields, new dishes, new uses. It became part of the American identity, appearing on the menus of the new nations, feeding soldiers during wars, sustaining families in tough times. It's curious to think that, in the end, the potato that arrived in England and the rest of the world was never truly English. It was a wanderer, a survivor, a symbol of everything needed to endure hard times. From the sacred ceremonies of the Incas to the ships of the conquerors, from devastating famines to the modern age, the potato transformed and adapted, carrying a piece of human history in every harvest. And now, when you look at a potato in your kitchen, it seems so common, so unpretentious. But remember, it is a survivor, a traveler that crossed seas and mountains, that saw the gleam of gold and the despair of hunger. It is an echo of the prayers of peasants who lived and died for it, of the ancient rituals of the Andean people, of the murmurs of a continent that saw in its roots a chance for a new beginning. So stay until the end of this story, because in the last minutes, we will uncover how the potato, which started in the shadows of the mountains, became something that still nourishes us today, connecting us to a past we often forget. Every bite you take of a potato, every dish it enriches, is a tribute to this unexpected and complex journey, reminding us that even the most unlikely stories have the power to change the world. In the last chapters of this saga, the potato becomes a symbol of transformation and adaptation. When Irish immigrants arrived in the Americas fleeing the Great Famine, they brought more than just their memories and sorrows. They also brought their culinary traditions. The Irish communities that settled in the United States, Canada, and elsewhere began to cultivate the potato in their new lands. And slowly, the potato became part of a new story. In the United States, the potato quickly found a place on settlers' plates and later in the heart of a nation in the making. It became a crucial ally in times of war, providing energy and sustenance for soldiers and workers. During the American Civil War, for example, the potato was one of the main sources of nutrition for troops on both sides. But it was in the 20th century that the potato truly became an icon of American culture, transformed into foods that are now known worldwide. Yes, we're talking about French fries. And listen, don't underestimate this part of the story. Because when the potato became French fries, it ceased to be just a tuber grown in fields to become a symbol of modernity, of convenience, of a world that was changing rapidly. It's almost poetic to think that something that began as a rejected food, viewed with suspicion, ended up becoming one of the most desired products on every corner of the world, on the menus of high-end restaurants and in the fast food chains that redefine the way we eat. But let's go beyond the fries. During World War II, the potato once again assumed an essential role. With food shortages and the need to feed millions of soldiers and civilians, it became a versatile and nutritious solution. Potatoes helped fight hunger in the trenches and refugee camps, in cities devastated by bombings. There were even campaigns in various parts of Europe and the United States encouraging people to grow potatoes at home, in the so-called victory gardens, to ensure that no one went hungry during tough times. Once again, the potato proved to be a symbol of resilience and adaptation. After the war, the global agricultural landscape underwent a revolution. Modern agriculture, with its machines and large-scale cultivation techniques, turned the potato into a mass crop. The vast plantations of the United States and Canada, the new varieties developed in the Soviet Union, and the renewed crops in Western Europe made the potato an increasingly accessible food. From a subsistence food, it became the foundation of a booming food industry. In Russia, the potato gained an almost mythical status, being called the second bread. In the vast Russian territory, where extreme cold makes farming difficult, the potato became an essential ally for families. Even in times of war and crisis, the potato was a resource that helped keep people alive, especially during long, harsh winters. And even in culture and literature, the potato appears as a symbol of resilience and rural life. But the potato didn't stop there. In the 21st century, it gained a new dimension, becoming the subject of scientific studies aimed at tackling one of humanity's greatest challenges: global hunger. In many parts of the world, such as Africa and Asia, the potato has been introduced as a crop capable of improving food security. In China, for instance, the potato has become a fundamental part of the diet, and the country quickly transformed into one of the largest producers of this food. It adapted to the climate and soil of regions that previously did not know its taste, once again showing its ability to reinvent itself. It's interesting to think that just as the potato spread around the world, it also returned to its origins. In the Andes, traditional potatoes, those with vibrant colors and strange shapes, have never stopped being cultivated. But today, they are rediscovered by chefs and cooks who seek to reconnect with history and the roots of gastronomy. In modern kitchens, these ancient varieties come to life in sophisticated dishes, blending the past and the present, the traditional and the innovative. And there is also a side of the potato's story that takes us beyond Earth. In 2015, the potato gained prominence in a space mission. NASA conducted experiments to grow potatoes in simulated Martian conditions, even inspired by the film The Martian. The idea was simple and bold. If humanity ever wants to colonize other planets, perhaps the potato, the one that survived freezing mountains and devastating famines, will be our ally. Who would have thought that the humble tuber, which began its journey in the cold lands of the Andes, might one day help humanity take its first steps toward space. Now, think with me for a moment. This potato, which starts in hard, cold soil, which survives European disdain, which feeds multitudes in times of war, which reinvents itself in Africa's fields, and which might even be grown on Mars, has a story that continues to be written every day. And if you've stayed with me until now, you realize that this story is not just about a food. It's about adaptability, about how life, even under the harshest conditions, finds a way to persist. It's a story that makes us think about how many times in our own lives we face situations that seemed impossible, that seemed to bring us down, but somehow ended up making us stronger. The potato, this symbol of human resilience, reminds us that behind the simplest things, there are stories of courage and persistence. And every time we sit down at the table, every time we enjoy a potato dish, we are somehow connecting with this long journey, with those mountains, with the ships that crossed oceans, with the fields devastated by famine, and with the new horizons it can still conquer. Thus, I end this story not with a period, but with a comma. Because the potato's journey continues in markets, fairs, kitchens, and even in research labs. It is a story that began thousands of years ago, and it still has much to tell us about who we are and what we can become. If you've stayed with me until now, thank you. I hope that next time you look at a simple potato, you can see the layers of history it carries, the lives it has fed, and the mysteries it still holds. And remember, every time a potato sprouts somewhere in the world, it is simply continuing a journey that never ended. Did you enjoy this incredible journey through the history of the potato? If so, don't forget to give a like. It really helps the channel grow. Subscribe so you don't miss more fascinating stories like this, and turn on the notification bell to receive updates whenever a new video goes live. Comment below what surprised you the most about this story, and share it with that friend who needs to learn about this surprising side of the potato. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.